What's going on YouTube? This is Scotty Sobczak. I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of my sim racing rig here. And I've been fortunate enough to race some cars in real life. And the idea was to bring that experience into the sim racing world here and build a chassis and a setup that really is close to real life or VR as possible. So I'll cover a couple things here, some of the home built pieces on this, some of the peripheral hardware that I'm using, and obviously the PC itself. As I mentioned, this was designed to mimic real life. So as far as the chassis and frame on this thing, it's basically just a wood structure built out of 2x4s and some plywood. It's effectively an elongated desk here. It's hard to see with everything around it, but there's a base and a desk part that extends kind of all the way back where the PC sits on behind those monitors. It's finished off with some carpet and some vinyl planking just to make it look nice and usable. The roll cage here is just a simple PVC structure. The material is really simple. The setup and dialing it all in and getting the measurements was actually somewhat challenging, but I think it turned out really well, and it mimics the real life cars and really brings kind of that experience, you know, into the real world as opposed to just on the screens. The roof here is just pegboard covered in carpet with some headliner adhesive. Finished it off here with some molding as well. It works really well. It brings the inside the car, so you put that on top of you. It rolls right over the top of these screens and gives you that complete cockpit feeling. Another custom piece that's built on here is the dash. So it's basically just sheet metal cut up and lined up with the mounts on the wheelbase to mount up. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But again, it brings that real life aspect into the sim world. On the right side, those are bass shaker amplifiers, so I can control the intensity there on the right side. I got a RevBurner, the RevBurner software and link to run that tachometer. And on the left side, I got the Sim Racing Concepts button box. Helps me just kind of on the fly change whatever I need to. Got a couple buttons here on the steering wheel. I had a custom mount to make easier. Fanatec direct drive wheel and Fanatec V3 pedals down there, along with Fanatec shifter. Those amplifiers are running 4 bass shakers. I got 2 right here in front of the seat, and I got 2 mounted to either side of the seat for wheel slip and RPM. A couple things tacked on there, make it pretty close to real life. The seat itself is actually a real life stock car seat. I got some belts, some harnesses that are expired in the real life that make a good addition to the sim rig here. Further back, sound system wise, I got 2 surround speakers right behind me. That's driven also with a soundbar that sits behind the PC, which is behind these monitors, and a subwoofer down to the left for all those low frequencies. The Philips Hue Lighting is another pretty cool addition. I got 2 lights mounted up here, one behind the top roll cage here and one to the left. It really brings the lighting from the screens into the real world too. It's a pretty cool addition. I enjoy it. I think it's especially neat at night to really give you that effect of what's going on outside is going on in the room here. The other thing I haven't mentioned yet is the wind ducts. So I have a wind simulator built in as well. So there's a duct right there, right where the NACA duct would be in the real life car. And that's blowing the wind right on my face here. It helps me in the summertime, actually keeps you cool. I got one there and then one down by the pedals. It's a little bit difficult to see, but gives you a little bit of sense of speed, a little bit more immersion. I think it's a pretty cool addition. As far as screens go, these are triple 32-inch Samsung G7s. I have done flat screens. I've done VR. These 3 32-inch screens have been probably my favorite so far. The Asus bezel-free kit on both sides too. Gives you that single screen experience. As far as the actual mounts, this is a advanced sim racing mount. Pretty tough to see, but it fits nicely in this room and it's incredibly rigid. It actually helps keep the screens up, keeps the roof up, and been pretty fortunate so far with that setup. The PC itself sits behind everything back here. There's a soundbar on top, but the PC hard to see, but everything's set up behind the sim rig itself. Running an i9 1300 or 13900K along with a 3080 Ti to drive all the visuals that you see here. So this is a view from the cockpit. As you can see, I kind of have everything as lined up as close as I possibly can to real life. So the chassis and all the PVC pipes line up as close as I can to the screens. Even the actual window nut here is pretty close to what it shows on the screen as well. So the entire product gives you a pretty close to real life experience, and that's pretty much what we're after here. So check out the channel on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/ScottOnScott, and you can check out some more live videos or some of the recordings of racing with this rig.